What does the latest research say about running cadence, Footstrike pattern, and pronation? Today, we'll be answering these questions. Hi, I'm Jing Zhi, founder of Offset, a physio and personal training company. Welcome to our new channel. This video is the first in a series covering running Gait. All the research papers mentioned are linked in our article, which can be found in the description below. You'll find this video on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and eventually on the all-in platform that we're building. The segments are also timestamped for YouTubers, so feel free to skip around. Let's get into it. First of all, a little intro of the terms that we're going to be using in this series. When we study running Gait, we usually break things down to three different planes: sagittal, transverse, and frontal. There are also different phases of your running, namely initial contact, mid-stance, takeoff, initial swing, mid-swing, and terminal swing. If you're unclear about these terms, no worries, you'll learn more about them through application as we go along. Now, let's get into today's topic. Footstrike pattern. There are three types of footstrike patterns: rear foot strike, mid foot strike, or forefoot strike. You can identify your strike patterns by videoing how you run from the side along the sagittal plane. A quick fun fact here: where you think you will land with and where you actually land with can be quite different. Try it for yourself and let us know how you fared. Split your shoe into three equal segments. If you land in the rear one third, your rear foot strike, middle, mid foot strike, and front third, forefoot strike. So, what is recommended? In short, there's no one size fits all answer. And this is because each strike pattern distributes load across your body differently. You should go for the way your body can best handle the load and optimize your running. A little more about this, and for that I'll be referring to two research papers, one published in 2017, another in 2021. In the first paper, researchers compared rear foot and mid foot strike. It states that the mid foot strike is commonly recommended for the following reasons. It is more economical, there's a reduction in impact peak and loading rate of the vertical ground reaction force, and there's a reduction in the risk of running related injuries. However, they ultimately concluded that changing to a mid or forefoot strike does not improve running economy, does not eliminate vertical impact force at the foot ground contact, and does not reduce the risk of running related injuries. Now the second point is pretty interesting. It gets a little technical because it explains how the vertical impact force does not show up on the time domain plot. If you'd like us to deep dive into that in a future video, let us know in the comment section. Likewise, a more recent systematic review published in 2021 compares forefoot strike and rear foot strike. The meta-analysis of 26 studies states that running with a rear foot strike was linked to higher loads on structures or tissues around the knee joint, and running with a forefoot strike placed more load on distal structures such as the ankle joint and the Achilles tendon. In conclusion, science so far shows little reasons for changing your foot strike pattern unless it's causing you injuries. Otherwise, do exercise caution. You might overlook the areas you don't stress when you run in the way that you used to. The second topic for today is pronation. Pronation is the natural rolling of your foot inwards during the running gait. The arch of your foot collapses towards the floor to absorb the impact. Pronation is part of your natural biomechanics, and it helps your body take impact in a way that protects you from injuries. From the camera facing your back, i.e. along the frontal plane, you can check your pronation in your stance phase. For this, make sure your shoe isn't loose. Otherwise, your shoe will turn inwards when your feet does not, misleading you on how much you're pronating. How much you pronate is often illustrated in a spectrum. On one end, there's overpronation, and on the other end, oversupination. And in the middle, neutral. But how exactly do you define overpronation and oversupination? Well, there's no consensus on this. In reality, how much you pronate is a useful data point only when you put it into context. More often than not, it does not matter as much as other factors, which we will be covering in future videos. Speaking of which, if you're enjoying this video, give us a like, share, and subscribe. Coming back to the topic, research published in 2013 found that pronation is not associated with an increased risk of running-related injuries. The vast majority of foot types will experience similar injury survival after 250 km of running. The number of injuries per 1000 km of running was significantly lower among pronators than among neutrals. This is based on tracking 927 runners over a year. Despite marketing by the footwear industry, running injuries are usually related to other factors like exposure to training load, internal tissue loads, and tissue capacity. A study published in 2020 was on running shoe salespersons and physiotherapy students' knowledge on the subject. It states that foot pronation or running shoes themselves cannot be a cause of injury. There is also no evidence supporting the use of running shoes for the prevention of injuries. However, both running shoe salespersons and physiotherapy students hold beliefs that do not align with the causal framework of running-related injuries etiology. My personal take on this is that excessive pronation or the lack of pronation can be indicators of injury when put into context with other data points. If you're often getting injured from running, your strength conditioning is not helping, and you suspect it has something to do with your pronation pattern, get an expert's opinion. Our last topic of the day is cadence, which refers to the number of steps you take per minute. It is sometimes also referred to as step rate. A common advice is to aim for a cadence of around 180. This can partly be attributed to running coach Jack Daniels. During the 1984 Olympics, he studied runners from 800 meters to the marathon and found that cadences were all approximately 180. Since then, the number has been popularized. However, a study published in 2018 states that that number is possibly an observation elite running instead of running injury-free. So it might not be necessary that you aim for it, especially if you are a recreational runner. A 2019 research titled "Is Cadence Related to Leg Length and Load Rate?" also concluded that cadence is not related to load rate, a factor often linked to injuries. In both researches, runners with longer legs are observed to have lower cadences. My take is that cadence is a complicated topic. Although we have simplified it here, changing your cadence will likely set off a whole set of other changes, like Footstrike pattern, strike length, vertical displacement, etc. All this will change the way you run. And as we have already mentioned, if you change the way you run drastically in a short amount of time, you might get injured. So if you want to, you can optimize your running by gradually working up to a 180 figure, plus minus 10, but proceed with caution. That's all for the video today. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Do check us out at Allset if you are looking for personal training or physiotherapy services. For more content on sports science, sport tech, and sports entrepreneurship, do give us a thumbs up and smash the subscribe button below.